So far we have seen three types of knowledge representation. They are a logical representation, semantic nets, and frame representation. Now let's move on to the last representation type, which is production rule representation. It's also known by the name production rule system or production system or expert system. All these mean the same. It is actually a computer program used for providing some form of artificial intelligence. It consists of a set of rules about the behavior of the system. The system will be behaving based on some set of rules. It also includes the mechanism necessary to follow those rules as the system responds to states of the world. So the system will be responding to the set of rules according to the state of the world. So the main components of expert system are the knowledge base, working memory, and an inference engine. A knowledge base contains the knowledge in a form of rules which are known as procedural knowledge, or facts which are of declarative form, and it can be compared with a hard disk in a PC or long-term memory of human brain. So the knowledge base can be compared with or mapped with a hard disk of a PC or human being's long-term memory. So it has two forms. One is the procedural knowledge and the other is declarative knowledge. It's a collection of some rules and facts. Then the second component is the working memory, which contains only the facts describing the current state of a program. So as time proceeds, we will be having different states for a program. From the initial states onwards, on applying some rules, the states will be changing based on the actions performed, and the working memory contains the current state of a program. So it can be considered as a subset of the knowledge base. So the current state can be compared with the RAM of a PC, random access memory of a PC, or our short-term memory. Human brain's short-term memory can be mapped as the working memory. Anything that have to be processed is first brought into this area for working purpose. Then the inference engine, the third component, implements the reasoning process. So based on the rules, the inference engine will be implementing the reasoning procedure. So these are the components of an expert system. So briefly we can define this system as it finds rules in the knowledge base that corresponds to the contents of working memory and applies them to the program. So we'll be applying the rules on the contents of working memory because the current state is held in the working memory, or the current state is known as the working memory, and we always perform or apply rules on the current states for producing new states. The user interface may provide interaction facilities where expert system asks the user some questions. In addition to the three components, expert system can also have a user interface, because then only the system will work or interact with the environment where it is residing. Then only we can say that the system is an intelligent system. It should act with the environment and act accordingly to produce corresponding output. So user interface is also available for providing interaction facilities. The answers are interpreted into facts in working memory and it is used for reasoning. The answers provided by or from the environment, answers received from the environment are interpreted as facts, and it is used in working memory for reasoning purpose. Knowledge base editor gives the possibility to examine and edit the knowledge base. The knowledge base can be expanded or enhanced using the knowledge base editor. Then only we can say that the system is able to self-learn based on the new facts that are generated. So knowledge base has to be updated frequently. As we have seen in some previous examples like water jug problem or missionaries and cannibals problem, the production system consists of basically a pair which is having some conditions, and based on the conditions some actions will be performed. So it can be considered as a meaningful sentence like, if the condition is satisfied, then an action is performed. So production rule system consists of a pair of condition and action, which means if condition then action. It is having mainly three parts. First one is obviously the set of production rules, then the working memory for stating the current state of the problem, then the recognize, act cycle. So these are the three components. In production rules, an agent checks for the condition. If the condition exists, then the production rule is fired. The process of selecting production rule is known as firing the rules. So agent checks for the condition, and if the condition is existing, then the production rule is fired, and it corresponds to that. With the rule firing, the corresponding action is carried out. So these are the actions performed in the production rule. It is like condition then action. C arrow A means C represents condition and A represent action. So on the left hand side we will be having some conditions, and on the right hand side we will be having its corresponding actions. So in water jug problems and all, we were using actions based on some conditions. So conditions were described on the left hand side and corresponding actions were depicted on the right hand side. The condition part of the rules determines which rule may be applied to a problem. There may be many rules and we have to take or select the correct rule which has to be applied. The action part carries out the associated problem solving steps. And based on these rules, corresponding actions will be performed. Then this complete process, that is selection of the rule and application of the rule, is called as recognize, act cycle, because it is being repeated many number of times. So it is a recognition of some rules and action of that rules on the problem state, and it forms a cycle. So the term recognize, act cycle. The working memory contains the description of the current state of the problem. We have already defined that. The rule can write knowledge into the working memory. Based on the rule, we can take some knowledge for solving the problem. This knowledge match with the state and may fire other rules. When the knowledge matches the states in the working memory, it can utilize other rules. Many rules and actions will be available in the main memory. In the knowledge base, we may be having many rules, and in the working memory, we will be having only the required rules. So selection of appropriate one and putting in the working memory is the action required. So we have to select appropriate rules, and it has to be taken into the working memory for performing the required action which corresponds to the current state. Later, if the same rule is required again, putting into working memory can be skipped as the rule is already available for some previous action in the working memory. So this step can be skipped. For example, if condition then action, let us say see some conditions first. On the left hand side we are having the condition, and on the right hand side we have the corresponding action with respect to the condition specified. At the bus stop, which is one condition, we can be at the bus stop or we can be not at the bus stop. So the statement can have true or false value. If we are at the bus stop, then at the bus stop we will be having a true value, and if we are not at the bus stop, it will be having a false value. And bus arrives. Bus can be at the bus stop or it cannot be at the bus stop. Again, it will be having true or false value. If both these values are true, if we are at the bus stop and the bus arrives, then the action is that we should get into the bus. So get into the bus is the action performed here. For that, the required conditions are we should be at the bus stop and the bus should be there near the bus stop. In the similar way, we will be having another condition. In the bus and empty seat. We are inside the bus. We have already got into the bus and there are empty seats available. Then the action should be we have to sit down in any one of the empty seat. Then in the bus and unpaid. We are already inside the bus and we have not paid for the ticket. Then the action is pay charges. We have to make the payment for the ticket journey. And then the bus arrives at the destination where we have to go. Then the action should be we should get down from the bus. So this is a common example where we are having some conditions, and to suit that condition we will be performing some actions. So we are listing out the conditions on the left hand side, and the corresponding actions are listed in the right hand side. We can have some advantages and disadvantages of production rule. Advantages: the production rules are expressed in natural language. Just now we have seen that it is English-like language. It is easy to understand. They are highly modular, that is, we can easily remove some conditions or actions. Similarly, we can add or modify individual rules. Then it has got disadvantages also. Production rule system does not exhibit any learning capability. So it is not in the habit of self-learning because it is not storing the results of the problem for future uses. If we are having or receiving or generating some results, this will not be stored. So it is not capable of self-learning. During the execution of the program, many rules may be active, hence rules-based production system are inefficient. Whenever the program is in execution, there may be used rules available, which is known as active rules. Then we are not using all the rules for the current state. because we are selecting rules for the current state from the knowledge base. So there may be other rules also in the working memory, hence it is called as an inefficient system based on the number of rules present in the working memory. Then we have gone through these topics before in a slightly different way. Anyway, it's not a difficult task. Just go through the notes. I have covered this in the notes provided. Go through the notes and clear your doubts. The topics are simple relational knowledge, inheritable knowledge, inferential knowledge, and procedural knowledge. All these things have already been covered in previous sessions. Just go through it and go through the notes. If you have any doubt, can be cleared.